therapist, and so that really means that I'm kind of a perfect parent or a professional parent. And so if you ask my 18, 15, and 12-year-old, I will tell you that's true. When I come home in the evenings, the three of them line up by the door in their best outfits, waiting for some pearl of wisdom for me to share to enhance their lives as they go through their lives and relationships. So I do this work of working with kids and families and couples with a lot of humility because I'm not a perfect parent. And parenting is hard, and being a caregiver and support person for kids is really hard. Being a kid is really hard. And so I get to sit in the midst of that with other families, while I also am certainly challenged in my own family to figure this out. So again, a lot of humility and working with people trying to help kids and parents and families and educators to serve kids. So it's a passion of mine, certainly. My previous vocation was in youth and family ministry, so I care a lot about teenagers, a lot about kids, and a lot about the struggles that parents go through. Let's see, before we kind of walk into this, let's kind of share. I think what I've learned is my kids, particularly my 18-year-old, is my greatest teacher. Because she offers me all kinds of opportunities to look at my own inadequacies and insecurities and figure out how in the midst of that do I do the best job that I can to love and support her. So, we'll walk into it. Our conversation today is really around leading well for healthy kids. Okay, so one of the things that I think our culture challenges us to do is understand how to lead in our families. My sense is we spend a lot of time kind of looking to our children to figure out how do they give us feedback about how to lead them. And they don't have the wisdom to be able to lead themselves. And so our culture, I believe, is sort of inverted the leadership model. And so our hope today is to talk about how do we make sure that we're being responsive and understanding their context and leading them at the same time. So, anything else? How many people are parents? How many people are grandparents? How many people are educators, school counselors, other mental health counselors? Okay. How many people are perhaps future parents someday? Perhaps maybe. How many people are under 18? Okay. And this guy, he didn't raise his hand, but I presume he's under 18. So my hope is to get everybody to walk away with something wherever you're at. Okay. Let's see. So just some statistics on these are from the CDC. Just some statistics on mental health struggles for children. 9.4% of children 2 to 17 received an ADHD diagnosis. You can see about 7% some kind of behavior or anxiety, and about between 3 and 4% diagnosed with depression. So here's by age we see an increase in concerns. Certainly as we enter into adolescence, we start to really see some struggles with anxiety and depression. There appears to be an increase in people receiving diagnosis, or children receiving diagnosis for mental health concerns. There's a lot of possible factors related to that. One could be we're better at seeing the struggles that children are having earlier. Another could be that the last 5-10 years have really exposed some of the struggles that children and families have already been having, and so we have children becoming more symptomatic with the struggles related to a lot of cultural stuff, related to just conflict really worldwide, and certainly COVID and those kinds of things have exposed some perhaps real difficulties. How many people are familiar with ACEs? Okay, a couple of people. Okay, so ACEs, Adverse Childhood Experiences. There's been some good research that indicates that there are 10 experiences that when children experience them at a vulnerable state in their early life, early adolescence, it can have a profound correlation with some struggles later on. So it's a really important study because it helps us to understand part of what might be happening for young people when they've been struggling. These are some of the things we screen for and look for. So we'll talk about the different experiences. So ACEs, if there's an experience of household dysfunction related to substance use, related to divorce or separation, related to someone in the household having mental illness, related to incidents of domestic violence between someone and mom. There isn't a connection to fathers being abused or hurt with sickness, battered mothers or domestic violence, having witnessed or being aware of mom being hurt, or having anybody with criminal behavior in the household, right? And then others, emotional and physical neglect, and then emotional, physical, and sexual abuse. So part of what we're learning is that when these things happen, these are very likely disrupting people's development in healthy ways. Right? To witness these things at a time in which your whole sense of belonging, your whole sense of safety comes from the family, and to have these things happen disrupts your sense of security on a daily basis. And think about the profound impact of having these things kind of carry on. Some families have them go on and on and on. So in terms of people experiencing a number of these, about 33% of the population has 0. About 26 have 1, 16, 2, 10 for 3, and 16% have 4 or more. So they're very common, right? So these things that as an experience for children are very common. Here's what we find too: the more people have, the higher ACE score, the more health, social, relational, mental health, medical challenges that people have. Okay, so there's a very high correlation with all kinds of physiological, social, and relational, other kinds of intellectual, just a lot of difficulties. There's a high correlation. So just in terms of some medical correlations, people who tend to have higher scores tend to struggle with smoking and smoke more and have other health challenges. They also tend to experience alcoholism much more significantly and or marry a spouse with alcoholism. And then much higher correlation for depression. So the more ACEs we have, the more at risk we are. So I kind of skip through this a little bit. I will share this with Laura so you guys can do this later too. So ACEs are common, interrelated, and powerful. So there are lots of our population in general has ACEs, and it creates an increased risk. And there's intergenerational transmission, right? So if I show up with 4 or more ACEs, and I'm managing my hurt and my disrupted development, I'm likely to transmit more of that hurt into my family, right? I'm likely to experience alcoholism, have difficulty managing it with self-regulation and managing my emotional world in a way that doesn't kind of transmit this stuff to my children. So here's what we find. So adverse childhood experiences lead to that disrupted neurodevelopment, lead to social, emotional, or cognitive impairment. So now I'm my relationships, my emotional state are disrupted, and so I'm seeking out risky behaviors, oftentimes to get away from the pain that I'm struggling with in some way. And now I'm more vulnerable to all kinds of medical, mental health, and other kinds of challenges. I think I share this with you. So for those of you who are not familiar with ACEs, I think part of our call is to be aware that this is likely for a lot of people, right? There's a lot of people walking around with ACEs out there. There is often a better explanation of what's going on for them by contextualizing it this way and understanding these are people who are wounded developmentally, and our response is how do we care for them and understand that, contextualize that, so we can support them. Chemical use in the brain. This is that. I hate it when it does this transition piece. I just want to all at once. So chemical use, brains respond to reward, right? Substance, part of why we seek out substance use, marijuana, alcohol, amphetamines, is because they reward our brain. And it can really provide those rewards. So we seek that out. Who's at risk? Oh, it's going to do this little time. Who's at risk? So people with ACEs, right? Because I want to feel better, right? Being a teen, we are at risk because our brains are sponges when we're teenagers, and we're designed to look for things that reward our brain, that feel good. We are at all stages of life, but particularly as teenagers, that's when we can be very vulnerable. Being bullied, experiencing some kind of difficulty, and not knowing how to manage it, not having good support, right? Troubles at home, troubles at school. Some of these are very correlated to ACEs, and then just not feeling good about myself, right? And being surrounded. So signs of use. These are things you'd be looking for if there's a concern that somebody might be using, some young person or frankly anybody might be using. So a change in interests. Okay, I've really shifted away from things I used to be involved in. A change in cognitive processing, slower processing, not really tracking, or faster processing. Right? Those two things, either of those two things could be something that to key in. Carelessness, cautiousness, defensiveness, especially that might be out of character for a young person. Now, my 15-year-old is entering into adolescence pretty aggressively, I'd say, and really embracing it. And there is a guardedness that has shown up for him that we didn't experience before. So it is teasing out what's the defensiveness about. Is this global defensiveness, which it seems to be for him, or is it specific related to who he's hanging out with, or what his behavior is?